If you struggle with setting boundaries or you know somebody that struggles with setting boundaries, watch this video. My name is Monica Duarte and I am a trauma and certified goal coach, and I help Latinas and driven women process trauma and reach their goals so they can live their fullest potential in the world. I'm also a trauma survivor who has healed from a bunch of traumas, and one of the obstacles that I had to overcome is being comfortable with setting boundaries. One of the huge traumas that I experienced is abandonment trauma. I'm originally from Mexico, and when I was 3 years old, my parents came to the US and I didn't see them for 2 years. So that experience really impacted me on so many different levels. When we've experienced abandonment trauma, generally any trauma, but specifically abandonment trauma, basically that child does not get the opportunity to develop a secure sense of self if that trauma happened in childhood. And now being able to have a secure, solid sense of self really impacts your ability to show up in the world as your full self and to set boundaries with others. The way that it showed up for me is that I was bullied a lot because I never was given the opportunity again to develop that secure sense of self. And when I work with clients and we talk about boundaries are seen like something really scary, something you don't really do. Generally, especially with women, we think setting boundaries as being mean to the other person, that we're gonna hurt their feelings. But again, we have to start shifting the way that we look at boundaries because boundaries are actually healthy. It also doesn't help when we try to set boundaries and other people lash out at us because again, as trauma survivors, we are very sensitive to those kind of treatments, and our trauma responses get activated. So it's really important that we start to look at boundaries from a different, more healthy perspective and understand that setting boundaries is how we create a solid, secure sense of self. It is literally a tool we can use to develop that secure sense of self. When we start to set boundaries with others, we are able to better define who we are and what doesn't feel right for us and communicate that. And that makes it a lot easier for us to navigate the world and assert ourselves in the world. Setting boundaries doesn't have to be this crazy, overwhelming experience. You can start off with baby steps, literally just by noticing what's coming up for you when a person is talking to you, for example, in a way that, doesn't feel right. What's happening in your body? What's happening in your emotions? What's happening? Like, how is your body responding? Notice the sensations, notice the emotions that are coming up, and become curious about them. And if you feel uncomfortable with the way somebody's speaking to you, all you have to say is, I don't feel comfortable with that. And if your body is letting you know that the way somebody is treating you doesn't feel right, if your emotions are letting you know that, that's a boundary. Your body, your emotions, your internal world are always communicating boundaries to you by letting you know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And this is how we start to develop that secure sense of self. The next step is to actually voice what you're feeling. So if somebody is speaking to you in a way that doesn't feel comfortable, you would let them know, the way you're speaking to me makes me feel uncomfortable. Super simple. Another aspect of this is that sometimes when we start to set boundaries, we can come off really rigid to people. So it's really important to let people know, like, hey, I've been working on myself, and sometimes I may say things that come off kind of weird, so please let me know if that happens. I'm just learning how to set boundaries, and so this is something I need a little bit of support with. It's totally fine to acknowledge when your trauma is getting triggered and you feel a need to set a boundary, like a really firm, like strict boundary, because a trauma is getting triggered. You can just let people know that that's what's happening. Hey, my trauma response is being activated. I need some space right now. And here's the beautiful thing. People that will respect you having a sense of self will be open to hearing you. They will be open to allowing you to set those boundaries, to communicate in a respectful way. So that in itself is a way of also knowing boundaries with people. If people are responding to you in a very aggressive way, in a very disrespectful way, that they're letting you know that they're not safe people to have around in your life. The other component to this is that you definitely want to do the internal work to process trauma, because once you start to process trauma, eventually you'll get to the point where you won't get triggered as much. You'll be able to navigate the world better, and you'll be able to create a more solid and secure sense of self. So it'll be a lot easier for you to set boundaries and communicate your needs with others. So again, it's important to look at boundaries from the perspective that they're a tool to help you create a solid and secure sense of self, because that's what they're used for. If you are a driven woman or a Latina and you want to learn how to do this internal work and process these deeper traumas and learn how to set boundaries and build basically life skills that can help you navigate the world better, easier, I highly suggest that you join my Overcome Trauma classes. I have one happening next week on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is online, so you can join from anywhere where you are in the world. This month, we're going to be focusing on abandonment trauma and understanding the dynamics of it deeper and how it impacts us, how it impacts women, and how to start processing that trauma so that we can live our fullest potential in the world. I will post the link in the caption. If you want me to send you the direct link, just message me and I will do that. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, make sure to like it, share it, and follow me because I will continue to share more topics on how to overcome trauma and also helping women, driven women, Latinas reach their goals in life. And I also share my own experience as a trauma survivor who has healed from a bunch of trauma.